And now, the star of the show, Jordan Rogozinski.
Hello folks, welcome back to the Jordan 411 Sports Show, and today I have the radio personality of 31-year Joe Aiello today, and he also was on TV for CKY, and he does wrestling. Please welcome Joe Aiello.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jordan. Thank you. This is exciting.
Yeah? Have you ever done something like this with a live audience?
I've done a few things over the times, but never with Jordan.
Yeah.
So this is good.
Okay. Now we're explain, like I know you started in radio, but explain how you got into wrestling and then decided to go back to radio.
Okay. As a kid, that's all I wanted to do was get into radio, so I remember taking my mom's wooden spoons, and instead of, getting whacked on the butt when I was a bad kid, I used to talk into them like it was a microphone, and I used to watch wrestling as a kid growing up, so I really had a passion for both, and I used to have wrestling matches with my brother. Every once in a while, I used to use the couch, as a turnbuckle or a pillow or two, and then I just started.
Funny thing is, me and my brothers too.
Yeah.
Would have
Sure.
those.
So, and then radio is something I wanted to do, so I went to the University of Winnipeg. They have a radio station there that I got to fool around for 4 years with, and it led to a radio job with CKY Radio and City FM at the time. And then I got to meet a local promoter by the name of Tony Condello, who had a wrestling company called the WFWA, later became the IWA, the International Wrestling Alliance. And I got to do TV like you get to do, and kind of self-taught myself how to do wrestling interviews or stand-ups, as they call them, right?
How was it, because you were 21 at the time, how was it to kind of learn on the fly?
I was scared.
Yeah,
I was pretty nervous.
like
I was
I,
standing there like stiff, with the microphone and probably talking like this instead of just like we are right now, right? More natural. Yeah. So, but it was fun, and you got to meet wrestlers, and then I got to do some play-by-play, call matches, because as a fan growing up, that's like the ultimate if you're not going to get in the ring, right? So that was cool.
What was your favorite match to call?
Oh boy, I guess it was my WWF tryout. I got to call a match with Ric Flair just before before SummerSlam in 1992. So it was a taped match. The best moment I had with the WWF was Bret the Hitman Hart winning the world title in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and doing the winner's interview with him. And a funny story with that interview, when you're taping television, have you ever screwed up and they had to do a retake?
All the time.
All the time? I'm going to tell you a wonderful story. 22 times I did one interview with Bret Hart. I think he aged about a year. By the time I finished the interview, I was so nervous. And then, of course, I finally got it right, and then Bret screwed it up. So I had to do it 24 times before we got it right.
He didn't calm you down?
Yeah, he did. But once you get it in your head, it's hard.
How does it feel now, looking back on what you've done, having that opportunity to do both passion for your career?
I've been lucky because I tell kids all the time, if they have a plan, whether it's to go to school or work, if they have a chance to do something they want to do, I was lucky. I've never worked a hard day in my life. All I've ever wanted to do was radio since I was probably maybe under 10 years old. And that's what I still do to this day, and that's the reason I stuck with that over even traveling with wrestling at the time, just because I'm home, right? Yeah. And this is my hometown, so.
Yeah. And you did have an opportunity to go with wrestling.
Yeah.
But I know you said it because of your hometown, but was there any other reason?
No, well, at the time I was planning on getting married at the time. They wanted me to move to Stamford, Connecticut. So there wasn't really any jobs for my wife at the time down there, and it was an expensive place to live. Plus, as I was waiting for my work visa to come, which you need to work in the United States, I got offered a full-time radio job because I was filling in, just trying to
Okay.
pay the bills. And I was having too much fun, and I decided to stay home.
How is it when you're on the radio every morning and you say, "Good morning, folks," or however you do it? How does that feel to you?
I have the best job in the world because if I have any problems, everybody has problems to deal with, I can go there and I can escape from my problems for 4 hours a day, because at the end of it, we're just there to have fun. Like, our motto is basically trying to be fun and entertaining. I don't have to deal with problems. You know what I mean? Like, I get to give away money, I get to give away trips, I get to give away tickets. Like, it's like going to recess every day, really.
How is, because you're doing that money promotion, how is giving money away to somebody?
The Power Cash Tower is probably the best contest I've ever had a chance to do, because it's like a game show, right?
Yeah.
And if you watch game shows, there's a reason why we watch, because it's exciting to see who's going to win. And we don't know. So every time that button gets fired, I don't know if it's going to bust or they're going to win. Like, somebody just won $3,000 yesterday, right?
Okay.
Like, that's a pretty good day.
Yeah, I would say. How did it feel to you you apparently met Tony in a social function I saw in your other interview. How did that feel to you to meet an all-time promoter?
What happened was, growing up in an Italian community too, and Tony being Italian, I'll never forget, it was at Le Rendezvous, which used to be a venue in St. Boniface, and there was a social, and Tony and a couple of other local wrestlers were security for the social. So I happened to be there, and I was probably a cocky 19 or 20-year-old kid, and I walked in there and I told them everything I knew about wrestling and that I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and they were looking for somebody part-time to come and do some ring announcing and things like that. So I ended up getting a part-time job with them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Did he kind of, was he kind of intrigued by how much you knew?
Yeah, I think maybe not so much intrigued, but going, oh, so this kid thinks he knows everything about wrestling, because, you know, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you learn about wrestling as you go. But it was a fun experience for me, because it's like you doing your own show. It's just fun.
Yeah, fun.
It's fun.
Now you are Italian.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite meatball place in Winnipeg?
Meatballs?
Yeah.
Wow. There's a few good places for meatballs. You could go to Pasquale's on Marion. My buddy Joe, he's got Mama's Meatballs there, and he actually does a promotion every year where he sells the meatballs for charity. Mona Lisa's got pretty good meatballs. They're on Corridon as well. Okay. There's Nucci's Gelati that's got great meatballs farther down on Corridon. You seeing a theme here?
Yeah. So your buddy, could he hook me and Dave up with some good meatballs?
Dave's your EA, right?
Yes.
He helps you out.
He's 6'5".
He's 6'5", so it's going to take a lot of meatballs.
He can probably like 30 or 40 meatballs at one sitting.
30 or 40?
Yeah,
So we're going to have to call ahead if we're going to make an appointment. I'll tell you what, when you're ready to go for meatballs, you and Dave call me, and I'll set it up.
Okay.
Pizza too, though.
Yeah.
Can't just live on meatballs.
What's your favorite pizza joint?
Well, I grew up in the west end of Winnipeg, so there's a place right on the corner of Sargent and Wall Street called Casa Grande. It's an old house converted to a restaurant. It's been around for 40 years. I still go there to this day. Okay. I've been there twice in a day sometimes, Jordan. So if you want to go for pizza, I'll set that up too.
The funny thing is that I actually don't like pizza.
You don't?
So I don't know what it is. It could be the sauce. I just never really liked that.
Okay, well then I'm going to turn the tables. I'm going to ask you a question. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food. Okay, I like chicken wings.
Okay.
I like chicken fingers and fries.
Good.
Roast beef sandwich.
Nothing wrong with any of that.
I like milkshakes. A whole whack of stuff.
So we can find a place to eat.
Yeah, easily.
Okay.
Easily.
Do you like meatballs?
Yeah, meatballs.
Okay, we'll go for meatballs.
Yeah. So, did your mom and dad listen to you on the radio?
Well, I think so. My mom passed away a while ago, but she used to listen all the time, and so did my dad. But as my dad's gotten a little older, the music might have gotten a little louder.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he listens as much anymore. Plus, I'm his son. He can.
Yeah.
I tell him all the time, if I call him, he can hang up the phone. If I see him in person, he can't shut me up. But at least on the radio, it can hit the off button. So he might listen once in a while.
Okay. Do you ever get like a caller that goes, "Hey, I've been a fan of you for so many years"? How does that feel
Very rarely.
to you? Very rarely?
No, it happens. You know what? It's actually nice when something happens. You were kind enough to call me a radio legend, and I kind of basically said, no. I said that just sort of means you're old. But
you're only 52.
I'm only 52.
Age.
Old in radio years. But no, I've just been lucky to do what I just feel fortunate that if there's people that have been kind enough to give up their time to listen to what I've done or what we do, that's a pretty cool feeling. You know what I'm saying? If you know people watch your show, it's the same feeling. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I know people watch it. How did going into preparing a radio show, how does that all work?
Well, I think every day you guys would be doing homework. We do our homework. But I think in radio the difference is life experience comes into play. So it could be anything. You could have noticed something today.
The Jets are pretty big right now.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to talk about the Jets. You could talk about the stories with Facebook right now, because so many people use Facebook, and the privacy issues. There's a class action suit, apparently, civil suit now because of facial recognition. So we'll talk about stuff like that, and
So after you're done on air, do you prepare for the next day, or how do you
not right
do
on the
that?
spot, but throughout the day.
Okay.
Like, tonight the Jets game, let's say, or a night there is a Jets game or a Bombers game. You'll take notes of some stuff like that, right?
Okay. Was that difficult to learn, that research piece?
No, I think because you learn from other radio people when you start off. Like, I was a rookie, and you learn good and bad from different people on how they prepare. No different than if you're studying for a test. Some people can study all day and never get the same mark as somebody that could study for 2 minutes, right?
Who was your mentor? Like, who did you look up to?
There's a couple, but Ron Aiello, who passed away, helped me get my start. Like, I used to produce his show, like you have people behind the scenes producing your show. He was probably the first, because I learned a lot working with him for a couple of years, but certain people, gave me jobs,
How did it feel getting your first job in radio and finally realizing that I'm actually here?
You know what? It was, because it's all I ever wanted to do, so it was quite the cool feeling. My first full-time radio job, I was elated, but I had to go home that day and tell my family that I was quitting university to get this job. This job paid.
That was hard.
Oh, that was really hard. I still hear about it from my dad every once in a while. But I think it's because I grew up Italian, so you got to live with that guilt, apparently. But the thing was, it was an exciting time because that's all I ever wanted to do. Okay. So it was kind of cool. And I still love it to this day.
Do you have anything for somebody like me who wants to follow in your footsteps, not necessarily radio, but in that field?
Do you like what you're doing?
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's not necessarily about skill, it's about passion. And if you have passion for something, why should anybody or anything be able to stop you?
Yeah.
When I started, I had people tell me that I have an accent. You can hear it in my voice. I had people tell me I had to change my name. And I told these guys back in the day, I said, why can't I be different?
Yeah.
Why can't we be different?
And your accent isn't that strong.
No. But I probably lost some of it along the way too. But the thing was, now you see a lot more diversity, right?
Yeah.
and people using their ethnicity and their name. Before, it used to be they want you to
So
change your name to
rigid.
something like Smith. I don't look like a Smith.
When people break a story, how does that work? Like, do you get a phone call or do you just hear about a story?
Well, years ago, there was no internet when I started, so you would have a wire service, right? And it would come up on the wire and it would print out for you. You would get phone calls, news tips locally, right? People would call a hotline. But even in the day, I was on the air when the Twin Towers got hit in New York City. Do you remember that? You guys are younger,
really. I was
but that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a big terrorist attack, but we had seen it right on our computer screens right when it happened. So we were live on the air. So there was no taping. It was just real, right? And you get stories like that, you know, to cover.
How
sometimes.
was that? To
That
cover
was a tough one to
real
cover.
live event.
Yeah, that was a tough one to cover. The Humboldt Broncos story's been a tough one to cover because everybody is pretty emotional about what went on. And I think what happens in radio, TV, we're just real people. I think, you know, you can't act through that stuff.
No.
So you get real emotion. And, you know, no different than you get real emotion with the Jets right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people passionate about what went down, you know, in a couple of the games, the intensity and everything else.
Yeah. And I hear you're a Boston fan. So,
Part-time. I used to be a
part-time.
Jets fan and a Bruins fan growing up because they played in two different leagues.
But I'm going to focus on the Boston
You are you?
part, just to bug
You're
you.
a ball breaker.
Why do you like Marchand?
Oh, I don't know if I like Marchand. I like him better because he plays for a team I like than I would. But I thought he was great when he played for Team Canada.
Okay.
I think the thing was when I was growing up, the Jets were in the WHA.
Okay.
The Bruins were in the NHL. Right? No different than I like the Boston Red Sox in baseball because 7-Eleven used to hand out Slurpee cups, plastic Slurpee cups. And they had baseball players, and the first one I ever got as a kid was a Boston Red Sox by the player. So I always liked them. Pittsburgh Steelers in football. First football game I ever saw on TV.
Really?
So I just stick with my teams.
Steelers too?
Sorry, buddy.
Oh,
But the Bombers.
the Bombers.
Big Bombers
that
fan.
we can agree with.
Okay.
Do you go to any games?
Yeah, I have season tickets for the Bombers and for the Jets, and I
do
like to get
too,
to some
11
Gold Eyes
years.
games. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. What do you think of their season?
The Bombers are going to be even better than last year, and I think we win the Grey Cup either this year or next year, for real.
That's bold, but okay.
Yes, I know it's bold, but I really do believe. You think so? Think we're a few pieces away still?
Well, I wasn't expecting that, so I'm just playing it. We could do it.
Okay.
We could do it. I think Bowman will help us, which
Yes?
my producer is an Eskimo fan, so he was probably pretty hurt that Bowman left.
Oh, yeah. The Eskimos have been around, though.
Yeah.
They're always in the
They
mix.
won a cup, so.
And we have to say that now because he's producing the show, and
Yeah, I know.
he'll edit this segment out otherwise.
Yeah. So, how is it in the Bell NTS place during a playoff game?
It's very white. It's very loud because the way the building is, right? Every seat's pretty good, even in the upper deck, right? Because everything sits over, so it's very loud.
But
The excitement's been good because, I mean, we won our first two games at home, right? So that
is
helps.
it hard to fit in the seat? 'Cause I know with my dad, he's bigger, and it's hard for him.
You know what? I can find it tight once in a while, but I got to be honest. I stand a lot in the Bud
you
Lounge.
stand a
I
lot?
socialize a lot, and then I have to
Okay.
go home and watch the highlights because I talk too much.
So you're there, but not there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm there, but not there.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, Joe.
Hey, my pleasure. Nice meeting you.
And thanks for coming, folks.
Please like and subscribe to Jordan's YouTube channel and follow him on Twitter.